Okay, we're live. Are we live yet? What is up? How we doing? I had to change the angle because the lighting was super weird and I didn't like it at all. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how to NT, especially when you don't want to. I didn't mean for this to turn into a series, but I think it actually might be a pretty useful and helpful series to do. Because I think that one of the core elements of objective personality and the personal growth side of OP, beyond the being able to type people in the same way that Dave and Shannon type people, really does come down to the I don't wanna element. And I think that what makes people hard to type, objectively, using Dave and Shannon's criteria, is the fact that once you have reached a certain level of success, and there are various plateaus and levels of success within that, but you just stop complaining about not wanting to do something, and you realize that oh, this is just a thing that has to happen. Great, I'm gonna do the thing, right? To give you an example, I'm not gonna go into too much depth. I don't like putting people on blast. That's impolite. I don't like doing it. But I am in a game night with some people, and there is somebody in that game night who is a hardcore NT, lead TI motherfucker, who's just all in on his NT and has never really been punished. Again, he's on the younger side, right? He's in his 20s, but he just hasn't been socially punished for his lack of SF, right? And so because he hasn't been punished, whenever the outside world is pinging him to be hey, you should maybe SF, he is very understandably in that position of I don't want to SF because I haven't been punished for it enough yet. The amount that I've been rewarded for ignoring SF and the amount that I've been punished for not doing SF, that's still really imbalanced. And so over time, he's just going to get punished more and more for not doing the SF, and then he'll eventually start to do it. Right? So I bring that up in the context of I don't wanna. A lot of that, the majority of that, is just, it isn't this it isn't a tantrumy thing out of immaturity. Because I think that when we talk about these these I don't wanna, the temper tantrum pouty face thing, is really easy to ascribe an immaturity to that, a negative motive to that, I'm a child, I don't have to be responsible for everything, right? I'm going to slam my door and listen to Avril Lavigne and pout like it's 2003, because that was an awesome year for pouting for me. But I think that there's something a little bit deeper and more human and more universal to it than that, which is just, I don't see that I'm going to get punished for not doing this thing. I'm looking at the evidence. I'm looking at my life so far. I'm looking at the lives of the people around me. We all seem to be doing pretty good without this SF. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of reason to do something I'm bad at when I don't know that I'll be rewarded for it. And when I know that I will continue to be rewarded for doing the thing I already like and am good at, yeah, I'm just going to not do that. And then what will happen is they won't do it. They'll get punished or not. Someone will pick up the pieces for them or not, right? I sort of, the analogy I like is, imagine like an 8-year-old boy who takes a shower and then just leaves his towel on the ground. Mom is not supposed to pick it up. She is supposed to let it sit there and be like, hey, Bobby, what's the matter with you? Pick up your towel. You just took a shower. If you leave it on the ground, it's going to get moldy, right? Or if it's like, hey, you just came home from swimming. All right, so go hang up your towel outside. Don't leave it in your swim bag. It's going to get mildewy and gross and it's going to suck, right? You explain to the kid why he should do the thing. And then Bobby's like, fuck you, Mom. I want to go play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Boy, I am really stuck in the early 2000s today with the fucking Dave Matthews Band. Jesus Christ. All right. That's just what year it is. I guess it's 2003. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a choice in the matter. It's just 2003 today. But like the kid will, if he doesn't do it, Mom is not supposed to take the towel out of his swim bag and hang it on the tree outside. She's not supposed to do that because then he's not actually getting punished for not doing the thing he's supposed to do, right? Because what has to happen is he has to see the consequences of his actions. And then when he goes to shower the next day or he goes whatever, then he has to deal with a mildewy towel for a day. I'm not saying like a week. No, that's terrible. Like don't overdo the punishment, but like make him deal with a mildewy towel. Make him I don't know, fucking get creative. Dry off with a washcloth if you don't like the mildewy towel. And then maybe next time you'll hang up your towel and it'll dry out. And then you won't do it again, right? It's the same thing with these functions. And this, I don't wanna, because here's the thing. Once you try to dry off with a damp ass mildewy towel, I guarantee that you now wanna hang that shit up. There is no part of you that after being punished for something is like, yeah, I still wanna do this thing that punishes me. No. So in thinking about, this video is about how to NT when you don't want, right? So if you don't want to NT, what is the root cause of this? Well, if you don't want to NT, it means that you have been rewarded for your entire life for doing SF first. And again, just because of the way that our society is mostly set up, the SF kids, if they're good at SF, don't really have to NT for the first number of years of their life, right? Again, it depends on the cohort. It depends on who you're with. I, for instance, because I'm on the opposite side of this, right? So I'm Savior NT ST. But boy, oh boy, I learned real fucking quick how to at least passably NF just because of the cohort I was in, right? I worked in musical theater. I worked in the arts. I was a singer and a music. I was surrounded by SF and NF. So that sort of accelerated my growth, right, in those two areas. But generally speaking, that doesn't happen. And especially when it's SF, unless you grow up in an exceedingly nerdy academic bubble, you're gonna be able to get away with a lot of SF in life. I know that they have talked in varying degrees about NT is more prefrontal cortex-y, SF is more, amygdala, quote unquote, lizard brain instinct. I don't know that has scientific merit, but I think we can all sort of see the analogy, right? Even if it is not perfectly scientifically ST literal true. Because SF is very much I want to do the thing. And again, it manifests in different ways for different people. My SF, my FI is masculine and my SE is masculine. So when I get into SF mode, I get very Tony Soprano, very Sons of Anarchy about it like that. You can really see my double masculinity. No, my double masculinity, my double masculine energy, whatever you want to call it, when I am doing SF. A friend of I was in a class and when I listened, because my consume is double masculine, like I listen really intently, especially if the person I'm trying to listen to is hard to follow, and is very like circumlocutory. Boy, guys, it's going well. It's going well. If he talks around the point a lot, right? I have to like really listen, be like, okay, what is he going for? What's the nugget? What am I doing? And a friend of mine even commented like, hey, anti-aging tip, if you don't wrinkle your forehead when you listen, you won't get lines. But I bring that up because like the SF, and yes, part of that is the consume, but the other part of it is that when I'm in sort of this animalistic SF mode, which in improv class you kind of have to be to really do it right, it gets very animal. It gets very, and again, like my animal is very, very grounded masculine animal, right? My inner animal is not like a graceful gazelle. Like I'm not like a little prancing deer when I move through the world. That just isn't my energy. Like I definitely like I have a little bit of like gorilla-ness, alpha male, whatever. Again, it's a demon. It's at the very, very bottom of my stack. Like we're working. It's not, I'm not Tony Soprano. But like, that's when I get into an animalistic mode. That's what it's about. And when that is something that humans just reward. We pick up on that. That's what our subconscious is naturally attuned to when we're not being cluttered with a bunch of other shit. Right. So I think about like in the more academic communities, nerdy communities, whatever, again, whatever label you want to put on it, there's an intense disrespect of SF. And I know that I said that this video was going to be about how to NT when you don't want to, but we got to lay the SF groundwork first, right? You got to understand like what SF wants to do. And what SF wants to do is it doesn't want to like think things through. It is very much about like, what is in front of me? Do I like it? Like it is a very snap, animalistic judgment. It's not abstract. It's like, I like this pen and not that pen. And again, a million different ways that you can manifest this, but like, it is very much about actual sensory, concrete things. And is this thing valuable? Whether it's values on a spectrum, values that are personal, like we can sort of think of it like, when a dog is playing fetch, right? Or a dog is like chasing, how about this? Right? There's the old dog is chasing a car, right? Chasing the bumper. The dog has no idea how absurdly dangerous that is. No clue whatsoever. But that's not what the dog is thinking about, right? The dog is not NTing. The dog is like living in the moment. He's just doing his thing and like running after whatever, right? And it's like that visceral, animalistic chase thing, right? And then the car stops in the car, right? The dog runs into the car and then he limps away and he's like, cars are not as fun as I thought, right? So generally speaking, whenever somebody, and I think that you can really see this in Shannon's life. So she has SF consume double activated as a savior. Okay, interesting. It involves her last function for sure, but like her SF is double activated. So, and I think that you can sort of see retroactively, like when she talks about her life, you can really see how much he's gotten her ass kicked by not thinking things through and by not looking at sort of like the abstract Spock reasons for why somebody may be behaving in a certain way or why she may be feeling a certain way. Like, she is a very, very in the moment, incredibly present person. And I think that is what makes her so charismatic and why I enjoy watching her videos so goddamn much, is because of how present and immediate and how grounded she is. I know she doesn't do the photography anything anymore, but like, holy hell, I would have paid so much money if I ever needed a photo shoot. Like, she would be amazing at it just because of how visceral in the moment she is. And you can really feel it from her in a way that Dave is a little bit more detached, right? He has to like make an effort to indulge that SF where Shannon does not. So if I were talking to Shannon from 10 years ago, what would I be saying to Shannon from 10 years ago about how to NT a little bit more? Well, the first thing that I would say is that in general, NT, I think it's very helpful, especially if you're Savior SF. NT is a really good supplement. It's a really, really, really good supplement. Especially if you're like just starting to work on your NT, don't try to go full Spock. That's never going to work for you. What I would recommend, and what I've recommended to people in the past in varying degrees, when they're like, whether they say explicitly they want to work on NT or they obliquely say, I've been doing this thing, but like, I need some new perspective on it, right? I need some new ideas. I need a new, nerdy frame, whatever, right? People say it in a million different ways. But I think that crucially, step one is to recognize how adding NT to your life is actually going to benefit you. Because what it's going to let you do is it's going to give you that foresight to be able to go, I want to chase the car. Wait a minute, hang on a second. Is this car going to kill me? Like it's a very risk reward, I think, is a really good way to think of NT. NT is all about risk reward. And if you see somebody sort of caught in an NT loop, so Chidi Anagonye from The Good Place is an amazing example of somebody who is intensely Savior addicted to his NT. Again, I don't know what type he is, but I think you can really see the dynamic between he and Eleanor, in that he has clear Savior NT somewhere in his stack. She has clear Savior SF somewhere in her stack. Same with John Yu, actually, or Jason, whatever he turns into, right? Like, the two of them are very, very much the SF. They're occupying the SF space, where Chidi and Tahani live in, at least to me, a little bit more of the NT. Not so much Tahani, but really Chidi is like hardcore NT, right? And he gets caught in these NT loops of like, okay, well, let's weigh out all of these options. Well, here's the risk and here's the reward. And if we do this, and everything in life is a fucking trolley problem to Chidi, to the point that they had an entire episode about trolley problems, right? And so that's why I say it's a really good supplement, because whether your NT is blast, play, consume, sleep, doesn't matter. NT is going to be taking a very detached trolley problem kind of approach to, everything. I don't want to put people on blast, but like, that has been the biggest problem in my relationships, is my overabundance of trolley probleming things that really shouldn't be a trolley problem. Like, I don't know, I'm on a date with maybe the most attractive person I've met in life ever, who wasn't Jessica Chastain. And this woman is super into me and wants to be in a relationship with me. And I tank it before the relationship gets off the ground because I'm stuck in trolley problem land, right? Like, you can really clearly see why the trolley problem NT approach, when it becomes too much, where that can really hurt you. And I think that what I've seen, when if you're stuck in SF land, right, where nothing is a trolley problem, no risk versus reward is ever considered, then it's like, oh, wow, I'm going to get punished for things are punishing. Great. Let me swing super hard in the opposite direction. I don't think you got to go that far, because at the end of the day, I think it is easier to connect with people on an SF level than an NT level. Again, truly at scale. I'm not talking about Tumblr, Reddit, Twitter, academia bubble. I mean, like, really at scale, all humans, you're gonna connect on an SF level. So you don't need to abandon that. You just need to temper it a little bit, right? And a good way to do that is just to recognize that actions have consequences, right? And that's a sort of thing that, like, yes, obviously we all know this because we're adults, but like, I don't always see that happening, especially with my Savior SF friends. Especially, like, I have a particular family member who is lead SF. I adore this person to death, but like, the idea of actions having consequences is something that this human came to much later in their life. So, like, not saying, like, obviously I'm extraordinarily grateful for my relationship with this person. But it is also very, very clear how things could have gone differently for this person had this person been like, hang on a second, let me pump the brake just for a second. Let me pump the brakes. Let me make sure that I'm actually weighing this risk versus reward a little bit. And look, when you first start doing the NT risk versus reward thing, it's going to be real goddamn clunky, because you're going to be like, oh my God, everything is a risk. Everything is a reward, right? That's fine. All that matters is that you gently start to introduce that into your decision-making process. There's a quote. No, it's not really a quote, but it's sort of a recurring theme in Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy is a very SF, double masculine kind of show, right? These are biker dudes. They're like very don't control me, bro kind of people. And the protagonist, Jax Teller, has lead SF consume, right? So SENFI. And he is blast last to hell. And his big journey is learning how to be the sort of ENTJ wise leader of this biker gang, and to learn how to sacrifice himself for the greater good, right? And sacrifice his own benefit in the interest of the group, right? So he sort of learns how to become a martyr in a really, really healthy way. It's a great show. So one of the things that he talks about, and he is somebody who is like hardcore into his SF and then learns how to NT. And as he starts to do it, he sees around him that nobody else is doing the NT. And a lot of these guys, right, they're real hot-headed guys, and they're like, hey, you, like, these guys beat up my kid. I want to go and chop their balls off. And he's like, okay, but hang on a second. We got to think this through. He says that over and over and over and over again. And what he's really saying is he happens to be framing it in a very NITE sort of way. But really what it is it's just, hang on a second. We got to abstractly consider risk versus reward. We got to think about the percentage shots, right? This approach has a 30% chance success rate. If we cool our heels for a week, we're going to have an opening to get the retaliation you want, and that has a 90% success rate. So we need to wait and do it then. Or conversely, guys, I'm telling you, this is our opening. If we don't act now, when we have a 90% chance of succeeding, the window's going to close, and then it's going to be 30% at best forever. But now is our window. Now is when we strike, right? That's a very NT approach to life. And again, as I said before, when you have that in an overabundance, it can really hamstring you, and it can really prevent connecting with other people, because at scale, humans are, I think, biologically designed to connect effortlessly on an SF level. So if you're living in this NT world, it's why I think that a lot of the bubbles that I found myself in, I'm not going to get too vloggy about this, but like the academia bubbles and the abstract NT Twitter literary Reddit Tumblr bubbles, whatever, right? It's all about like there's no SF at all. And it just gets very heady and very percentage shoddy and very like calculated and robotic in a way that isn't really authentic. So like, I'm not suggesting you go super far in that direction. And I would be, and again, I'm saying this, if you are Savior SF, you only need a little bit of NT, like you just need enough NT, right, to get you started. I think when you're Savior NT, when I'm going to talk about this in the next video, I think it tends to be more helpful to actually swing a little further in the SF direction. It's going to be a little scarier and a little harder at first, but I think you're going to realize that there are a lot more SF resources out there than you imagine, right? So like when you're living this SF life and you're doing the thing, you just need a steady infusion of NT and to be able to go, not micro decisions, you're not every little fucking thing, but just like start with things and you're like, I feel a little heated, right? I start to feel the blood boil. I start to feel like I want to tear somebody's head off, or I want to fuck them, or I want to kiss, like whatever it is, like good or bad, like if you feel yourself getting a little hot, that's a really good time to say, hang on a second, risk reward. Let me at least be like, is doing this going to have a greater than 50% chance of success or a less than 50% chance of success, right? Start with that. The next step is to like, once you get comfortable with like top half, bottom half, now you can start to be in the gradient, right? Now you can start to go, okay, top third, is it sort of like top quarter, bottom quarter, middle half, right? And being able to go, okay, I can recognize when it's a terrible decision or an amazing decision. Great. It is neither a terrible decision nor an amazing decision. I'm getting a little bit more clarity. Okay, now I can do the top half, bottom half again a little bit more granularly, right? And then you can start to divide it up even more. And that's going to take time. That is really a process. And it's, in some ways, it's going to feel weird to be detached. Because that's just, it's a weird, honestly, even for me as a Savior NT, I don't like how I feel when I am in an NT state. I am disconnected from my body. I don't feel like I'm really connecting with the other people in the room. Like NT feels weird to me and I don't love how it feels. That said, it is a very, very, very good muscle to have access to so that you can call upon it when you need it. So that you can be like, hang on a second, I'm in a fight, or I'm like, I can feel tension between me and somebody who I care about a lot. Okay, let's maybe try and like take a more abstract point of view so I can at least, risk reward. Is this a fight worth having right now? No. All right. So like one of the things that I will do is I'll say, okay, I'm feeling a little chippy, feeling a little heated. This person's coming at me with a lot of energy. In the moment, I'm able to go, you know what? I don't think this fight is worth having right now. I don't think that's going to serve anybody. Like, they're coming for me. Fair enough. It's not worth the fight, right? Now, where I get in trouble is when I just live in that abstract risk-reward land for too long. And then it's like, oh, well, huge tidal wave, fuck you, blow up, we never speak to each other again, right? But what I have found is that if I can go, okay, is this fight worth having right now? Right? Sometimes the answer is yes. Please do not misunderstand me. Sometimes the answer is yes. Because you're going to say, you know what? There's a 90% chance, like this person did it once, I let it slide, maybe they're having a bad day. That happens again. Now we are starting to establish a pattern. If I address this pattern right now, there's an 80% chance that it's never going to happen again and we're going to be totally fine. But if I don't address it, it's only going to get worse over time. So yeah, maybe right now is the right time to address it. The reward vastly outweighs the risk, right? And then sometimes it's like, you know what? I know that this person is just having a very, very, very bad week. Great. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to force the issue. I'm just going to remain detached because my SF animal doesn't get to play right now. It's not their turn. It's not his turn. He is not needed. He is not the right tool for the job. NT is the right tool for the job. And then there will be a time, right? Again, it's all about monitoring. It's all about thinking of your functions as a console. And especially when it comes to these animals, the more fluidly you can go between the different animals, even if you're shitty at doing the animal, that's not the point here, right? The goal is not, Magical Christmas Land, the goal is to be perfect Buddha Jesus at everything. Fine. But like when you're first starting out, all that matters is that you learn to recognize what the right tool for the job actually is. And sometimes that's NT, sometimes that's ST, sometimes it's SF, sometimes it's NF. And it's why you see sort of like, thinking, and I'll sort of end on this, thinking about it like a band, right? A four-piece. Think about the Beatles. Ringo didn't do a lot of singing. I didn't think he sang at all, right? There were lots of times when John was the right tool for the job. There were plenty of times when Paul was the right one for the job. There were plenty of times when George was the right one for the song, right? I can't imagine, pun intended, John Lennon singing Yesterday. That's just weird to me. That's very clearly Paul's song. I also can't. Okay, hang on a second. I'm not a Beatles freak, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Yes. Okay. Great. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. That's very clearly a George Harrison song. John singing that, I don't think John sang that song. I I don't think John sang that song. If I am wrong in the comments, Beatle freaks, please let me know. John singing While My Guitar Gently Weeps, I don't know. It doesn't have the same vibe to it. But like, now try to imagine George Harrison or Paul McCartney singing Imagine. No. That's very clearly, again, I know that's not really a Beatles song, but like, play along. Boy, I'm really just betraying the fact that I know nothing about the Beatles. Before I just look real stupid, who actually sang it? Yeah, it sounds like right. Yeah, here we go. Okay, George Harrison, double track vocals, backing vocals, acoustic guitar. Okay, so it was great. It was indeed George that sang the song. Fantastic. So that was a big old Beatles tangent. But my point is that when it comes to SF versus NT, SF is actually a really, really, really useful tool for a lot of jobs. I think it's one of the reasons that Gary Vee is as successful as he is. Part of it is his double masculine, for sure. Part of it is his doubling up on his lead play, absolutely. But like, I think a bigger part of it is that he's so attuned to his SF-ness that like, he's just so fucking in the moment that he's had to learn how to play the risk reward game over time. And he now does it very, very quickly and kind of sloppily. But like, look at the goddamn leverage on that man. He's just like been killing it. Like on a, objective, money, whatever level. Right. So look, I really think there is something to be said for SF being an incredibly useful function, regardless of what it is you want to do. And it becomes even more powerful when it is tempered with NT and being able to go, all right, I want to do this thing. Let me just do a quick gut check of risk versus reward. Right. Yep, that absolutely works. This is fine. I am comfortable with this decision. Let me take a swing. I fucking missed. All right, that's interesting. Let's go back. Let's debrief. Let's think about this. Yeah. All right. Could I have seen that coming? Maybe. I think it's a little tough to see that move there. But that move there, I absolutely should have been able to expect this person to behave that way. Fair enough. You got me. That I'll make sure to not do that in the future. But that I'm giving myself some grace with, because nobody could have foreseen that reaction, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video about SF versus NT. I realized this was more of like a comparison video. But I think that the reason I have to talk about it like that is that SF is so human. Like, it is, to me, the most animalistically human animal, right? And so tapping into that just means stripping away a lot of noise, again, depending on what cohort you're in. But it's also a pretty easy one. If you look around, if you're like, I want to care about SF, you can just look around and you're like, oh yeah, right, sink into your body. I get it. I'm vibing it. And so once you're coming from that place, now you can start to add in, all right, risk reward. What are we really doing here? What's actually going on? Is this worth it? All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Well, blast from the past. We're in 2003. That's just what we're doing today. That's what year it is in my apartment. I do not have control over this. That's just the way it is. All right, have a good one. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Ed, where's the Ed? Oh my God, end stream. Thank you.